I love to talk crochet design with anybody who's willing to listen. So I hope that if you have any questions or you're interested in anything, or if you're just starting out, or if you too are a designer, that you reach out and let me know. I'm going to talk to you just casually about a new yarn collaboration that I have in the works, and I was just reached out to by a yarn company on Instagram. So it really is great to have these social media platforms. I feel like it's the new modern day resume. So I was reached out to by a company to sign up for an influencer forum online, and then they were kind enough to send me some lovely yarn that I am currently working with. They selected the yarn series that they wanted me to work with, which is 100% cotton, which I love using cotton and natural fibers, so that was great for me. But they pre-selected the colors, and I'm so glad they did, because sometimes I find colors to be, while the most fun part of a project, sometimes the most challenging part of a project, to say what colors go together, what vibe do I want it to have. I always lean towards too much color in my crochet, and so I'm really glad that they saw that in me and sent me these vibrant, punchy colors for summer. And so what it is Premier Yarns cotton sprout yarn, and it's totally affordable. It's really soft on the hands. It's cotton, like I said, so I'm all about like natural fibers. I love when things are Oeko-Tex certified, and that just means the dyeing process is sustainable and doesn't leach dyes into you or into the earth. So I really like that when I make my yarn selections. And these colors are just very bright and vibrant. I couldn't be happier. As far as the project that I'm working on, it was up to me to select what I wanted to do. And I have this one project that's been in the back of my mind for a few years now to remake. It's my very first pattern that I wrote in 2018. 2020? Was it 2020? It may have been during COVID. Anyways, it's my very first pattern, and it was a kind of a boho, casual, easy, very beginner crochet top, and it has like little fringe down the side, and it's tank, no sleeves, just a square shape, basically a big granny square. But it was really good for me to work on because it helped me understand pattern writing, grading sizes, working with gauge, all of those technical writing skills that as a crochet designer, you need to not only have the creativity to come up with whatever the project is, but then you also have to be serious about writing the pattern. So I'm going to link that for you here. It's called the Boho Fringe Top, and I'm sure I could come up with a much more creative name, but that's what it is. Keep it simple. And so with this yarn, I wanted to 100% redo my Boho Fringe Top. To get started, the top I made originally was using just a craft store acrylic. It was a Lion brand, like Pound of Love, one of those huge skeins that you get and you just got to keep your hands busy and just decide to make something. So that's what I made first, was my very first pattern. I used acrylic yarn. Fine, it was fun. But now that I'm a little more experienced with yarn types and styles and drape and how things hang, I was interested to try it in a more summer weight, flowy, silky yarn texture, which is what this is. I don't know if you can see, but it just kind of like, if you're wearing it, you could imagine it blows in the wind kind of thing. And I'll hold it up closer so you can see. This is just a swatch, like a sample. I dislike making swatches. I think most people do, because it's like, all right, I did all this work and it's for nothing, and it's just gonna become a coaster, or you pull it out and redo it. But the thing as a designer and as a pattern tester, or if you're going to make garments in general and you need to know the size, swatches are important because it lets you know if your stitches are on point. So for this project specifically, let me show you an example. I tried 2 different hook sizes. So the reason I needed to redo it is because I made my first pattern in an acrylic yarn. So I had it hook size, gauge, sizing, everything for that yarn. And then when I was sent this yarn, which is a slightly different weight, and you work up the project, your stitch count's gonna change, your sizes are gonna change, your gauge is gonna change, all that good stuff. Fortunately, once you make your swatch, you can simply use a tape measure to estimate your gauge, and then from there do some simple math and redo all of the sizes, which is what I've done. So the reason I made 2 swatches is because with this one, I used a 5.5 milliliter hook, crochet hook, and you can see it has holes because, you know, crochet does, but it's not that see-through. I'm wearing white under this and you can see maybe just a little bit, it's a little sheer. Very traditional crochet look. But I also wanted to experiment using a slightly bigger crochet hook, which this one is a 6.5, and seeing what that gave me. So using a 6.5 hook, I did the same pattern, same motif, but you can see how much wider or larger the holes are on that one. Again, I'm wearing white and you can see much more through. So I think that's just a little more modern for me. It's a little chunky, edgier, eye-catching. So I decided to make my new pattern going with the larger hook size. And you can find that pattern linked here. It's already out and available for you in sizes extra small through large, with information on how to adjust sizing for your gauge. That's always something I like to include in my patterns, is how I did the math, how I did the sizing, because you just never know. Like, you could be short, you could be tall, you could have a broad frame, you could be petite. And so I like you to know as the maker how to adjust sizes, because, you know, just with a quick, simple edits, you can make this in masculine tones for a husband, you could make it in a small size for kids or grandkids, and it would be just fine. So that's currently what I'm working on, and I wanted to give you guys an update because, like I said, it was my very first pattern, and so it's kind of like near and dear to me since I worked on it so hard at the time, and I just wanted to show you a current update of how it's going, how it turned out, why I decided to redo it, and then a little background of how yarn companies do reach out to you if you're interested in starting to work with bigger brands or bigger companies. On that note, I would just say it's all about presence. Like, stay true to your style, stay true to your colors, to your aesthetic. I always try making new things. I very rarely make something twice. I'm not one of those like repeat project people who make the same thing in 5 different colors. I'm always skipping around, have new ideas, something in the back of my mind. Like, I already have 3 things in my head right now that I want to work on as I'm trying to finish this. So I wanted to also let you know of a couple other projects I'm working on this summer, and I just hope that the summer months don't pass me by and I don't have time to complete all of these things before Christmas. So let me get a coffee refresh and show you the other things that I'm working on. Okay, so project number 2 for me this summer is going to be a dress design. I have to choose another cotton called hipster cotton. It comes in these kind of pre-dyed colors. The color I chose is Desert Sky. You can kind of see how it works up. Very bright, very kind of moody, vibrant colors. And I have a dress design in mind that is actually something that I just saw on one of my fashion boards on Pinterest, and I was like, I can crochet that. So let me give me some time. I'm working on that pattern. I'm going to show you the progress that I have so far and where I kind of want to go with it. So I want it to be kind of a mid-length, kind of just below the knee dress, V-neck with a faux button front, and just casual, no sleeves, but to come low enough in the underarms that it's totally comfortable for summer. To start with this, I made a couple different swatches. I worked with it to make actually a couple different stitch patterns. I had in mind, I kind of wanted to use V-stitch, I kind of wanted to use a mesh stitch, nothing too complicated. I have 5 skeins of yarn that I'm working with. I'm hoping it's enough to get it to the length I want. If my stitches were going to be something kind of puffy, like a jasmine stitch or a harlequin stitch, where it's a bunch of yarn into one stitch, then I would run out of yarn quickly, right? So I wanted to come up with something that would be yarn sparing and geared towards beginners, geared towards somebody who just wants to make something casual over the summer and not be bogged down with it for months. So I finally came up with my final swatch. I made many. Let me show you what it looks like. This is the natural variation in the yarn, and the stitch pattern is basically one row of single crochet, 1 row of a V-stitch double crochet. The single crochet, because it gives it a little less transparency, you know, so you focus on the V-stitch opening versus the single crochet opening. If I had made that a double crochet, it'd just be a lot more open. So it will be open. It'll have this kind of pattern. You can see it emerging with the white underneath. And so let me show you the progress that I have so far. I'm making it in panels. A lot of my pieces are in panels. I had somebody ask me one time for a pair of pool pants that I had made. They asked me to come into the yarn shop in San Diego, and I happened to be in the area, so I did. And we were making them, and she's like, just curious, like, how come you didn't make it in the round, like as in one continuous piece? And for me, I was like, making it as a panel, like as a flat piece that you then seam together, is so much simpler, and I don't really lose track of where I am because it's kind of like a typewriter, right? Like it goes back and forth, back and forth. So for me, a lot of my patterns tend to follow that kind of construction, but it's all just, you know, you have to work different patterns to find what designs and designers work for you. And so this one's going to be in pieces, like I said, probably 3 pieces. This is actually going to be the back. Then I have a front panel and a front panel on the right and left side, and like I told you, it's going to have a faux button front. So this is the back. It's going to have kind of a gradual swoop, less than a V, but a gradual swoop in the back. And this is just shaped towards the underarms right now, and then I need to do the waist and obviously the skirt. But that's where that is at. One of the front panels looks like this. And this is going to be the front bust side, and this is going to be the underarm side. So I don't know if you can tell, but the underarm side is a little more severe of a curve, and the bust is a little less, because I like my patterns to be wearable for anybody, like not too modest or not too showy, a little bit modest, because a lot of times crochet, you have to wear something underneath it, like a slip or a camisole or a swimsuit or something. So as you can see, it kind of comes to here, and it'll, as you wear it, as it develops, it'll have the weight of the piece. And so keeping that in mind, it's going to pull down some, right? So like once the whole dress is finished, because it's cotton, it's going to weigh itself down. So erring on that, I wrote the pattern to just kind of come to here, and then it's going to have the faux button front, and it comes to a nice underarm there, and it's going to connect to the back piece, and then just a little flare at the waist, nothing too severe. I want it to be a little bit pleated almost at the skirt, but nothing too swingy. Again, I don't want to use too much yarn. I'm conscious that like once you start to add up a whole bunch of yarn, then your project is kind of expensive in just the materials. So that's where I am at on this project. I'm still considering a name for it. Like I said, it's Hipster Cotton in Desert Skies, and I would love it if you guys commented with a name for maybe how this V-stitch button front hipster dress could be named, because I am totally open to ideas, and it needs to have something a little more punchy than probably what I could come up with. So I would love to hear any name ideas that you have, and let me know. Let me show you my one last thing that I'm working on, and sit tight. Okay, so last bits of this video to just show you what I'm working on. Last night I decided to use some of this Sultan Deluxe cotton yarn. It's a weight 3. Hobby has sent it to me, Hobby Yarns, and you can find a lot of my patterns there on their website, but one of the ones I wanted to show you is this Seashell swim cover-up. It's done in shell stitch and using this variegated yarn. It's almost reversible and has different colors. So I have decided to remake this one in these colors. You can see this is the start of it. It changes from purple to pink on its own, and it just kind of unwinds as you go. So the Seashell cover-up is one of my patterns available on Hobby, free to HobbiiPlus members, and it's super simple to make. It's for summer. It is a V-neck with a little interesting join in the middle. and it is totally open on the underarm, something casual for where you're wearing a bunch of sunblock and you're hot at the pool or the beach and just throwing this on. And so that's one of my patterns from maybe 2 summers ago. And in the spirit of revisiting things, I am remaking my own pattern in this new yarn color, which I think is working up so lovely. One other thing I'm doing with this yarn in a different color, kind of this blue sky color, is I have another dress design in mind, and I wanted to show you just my little sketches. I feel like as any kind of designer artist, you're always sketching things out. You have ideas, notes, whatever. So I have different dress ideas in mind, and I kind of just take little stitch counts and tidbits and how I'm going along and like just writing it as I go, and then it comes together in a more like typed out formal pattern. But I'm using this yarn. It is a weight 3, it's a very lightweight yarn, and I have about a 4.5 millimeter hook on this one, and I'm alternating between a 4 and a 4.5. I love to match my hook to my yarn, honestly, so 4 for the purple one and 4.5 for the blue one. I don't know why, it is just a quirk. Don't worry about it. And so with this one, I have in mind to make a mostly white dress. So I'm gonna start from the outside in rather than the inside out, make a white dress, and I have these flowers started that I've made in the blue section that I'm planning to put as appliques in an interesting design on the dress. So I have a couple different types of flowers. If you pop on and follow me on Pinterest, you can see all of the different crochet motifs and designs that I have there, and it's just, you know, it's Pinterest, so it's other people's charts or diagrams, but I save them there in one place, so feel free to follow. This is a different kind of flower, and it is more like just a swirl, kind of like if you've ever seen those octopus that people crochet, they kind of have legs like this, but the point is you wrap them up onto themselves, and when you secure it in place, it has a look like a little rose or a camellia. So that's a super easy one to make. It's just a simple repeat of like 3 or 4 rows again and again and again for as long as you want. And then you can have a bigger flower, a smaller flower. I kind of made just a 3 version of it, and you can see depending on how long you make it, it looks different. And so this can be a little like applique or something wherever you want it. So that's what I'm working on with this yarn. And one reason that you'll find I love using weight 3 lightweight yarns, especially in summer, is because look how small this folds down, right? Like this is a whole Coverup, and it folds down to this. Okay, it's very small, very flat, and I love it. A lot of other yarns, like bulkier, even medium worsted weight yarns, when you fold them down, your project is like this. And I don't have that much room. I have a lot of things that I'm crocheting, and so I just tend to go towards these lightweight, easy, throw them in a suitcase with you on vacation, and it's not like, here's my section for all my crocheted things. It just kind of goes in with all your other clothes, and it works out really well. So that's why I choose lightweight yarns. Take it or leave it. I'd love to hear your favorite yarns, any suggestions that you have. I hope that this was fun for you guys to listen to. I love sharing the projects I'm working on and using this as kind of an in-between space from Instagram where you don't really have enough time to talk about what you're working on, meet people who are interested or working on the same things. So I would love to hear any of your comments below, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful summer.